Alright, let's talk about something most people are scared to talk about. Not because it's crazy, not because it's conspiracy, but because once you really see it, you can't unsee it, my nigga. The system we live in, it didn't happen by accident. It's engineered, designed, and programmed. And the programming targets black and brown communities the hardest. And this is facts. And I'm gonna break this down with quantum physics, psychology, spirituality, Kemet, science, metaphysics, real history, and what divine leaders try to warn us about. Christ consciousness, Buddha, Malcolm X, Tupac, Michael Jackson, Bobby Hemmett, people who saw through the illusion and paid the price for speaking it. Listen, people like to act like the CIA is just some building where a bunch of nerds sit behind computers. Nah, people in their communities for generations have been saying the CIA has been involved in pushing drugs, pushing guns, pushing destabilization into black and brown neighborhoods. And the Tusser massacre proves this. And whether people want to debate the details or not, the pattern is the same. When communities start waking up, systems start pushing distractions, addictions, chaos narratives, violence, and confusion. And like I said, you can look this up for yourself. The Black Wall Street. People say, nah, bro, that's conspiracy. Alright, but why did every revolutionary black leader suddenly get infiltrated? Why does every movement that stands for something get crushed? Why does every celebrity that gets too conscious suddenly disappear, have mental issues, or get blackballed out of the industry? You think that's coincidence? You think the system doesn't protect itself, my nigga? You must be delusional. And here's the wild part. It's not just agents like you picture in a movie. It's psychological, it's spiritual, it's energetic. You can be turned into an agent and not even know it. Anybody can. Even be cloned and you will not even know it, just like they cloned Tyrone. If you're pushing poison in your own community, if you're promoting destruction in your music, if you're misleading people with lies, manipulation, or fear, if you're a cop abusing people, or you're a racist ass cop, or if you're a doctor pushing things that you don't understand, or you're organ harvesting part of the program, if you're exploiting people for profit, if you're distracting people from their power, you're doing the job of an agent without even ever being hired. That's MK Ultra on the psychological level. It ain't what they did in the 60s with labs and psychedelics experiments. It's about influence, suggestion, media, religion, trauma, repetition, music, symbols, propaganda. You learn to obey without realizing it. You think it's your idea. They train you to carry out agendas and never ask why. That's why the systems buys pastors. That's why they control social media. That's why they build school curriculums that turn you into a worker instead of a thinker, my nigga. That's why the news always pushes fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear lowers consciousness. Fear shuts down the pineal. Fear disconnects you from the divine spark. And look, I'm not saying every white person is evil. That's not what this is about. I'm saying the power structures in this country originally built by colonizers, my nigga, facts. And it still functions the exact same way. Control, extract, destabilize, distract, colonize. If you benefit from that system, you don't even have to be aware of it to help maintain it. And that's white privilege. People bring up Charles Manson, not to say he was a hero, but to show something important. A lot of researchers say he was basically a test subject. Think about it. Music, drugs, cult mentality, religious language, all used to psychologically control people into doing violence. That's an experiment in how to turn regular minds into weapons. You don't think industry study that? You don't think government study that? Look at the media today. Look at the music machine. Look at TikTok. It's the same formula ran by the same people for profit and exploitation, distraction, violence, sex, confusion, addiction. All these industries are ran by the same people to run the system. And here's the crazy part. Some artists actually try to talk about this from the inside. People like B.O.B. try to expose cloning, theories, memory wiping, consciousness transfer. He said he had glimpses of facilities, glimpses of things that didn't feel human. And maybe he was right. Maybe he wasn't. But the pattern is the same. They blackball anyone who asks the wrong questions. They silence anyone who sees too much. And what these theories point to is one truth. The elite study the human mind deeper than anyone else. They know how trauma imprints the nervous system. They know how music programs the subconscious. They know how chemicals alter behavior. They know how spiritual disconnection makes people easier to control and exploit and profit off of. That's their whole system, capitalism and misogyny. Look at the food, look at the chemicals, look at the screens, look at the hours we give to jobs just to afford the basics that should have been human rights. Look at how they treat animals in factory farms. Then look at how they treat us. They treat us the same. Logic, pack them, feed them, drain them, profit. This is why so many people say America is a cult. Because a cult isn't about religion. It's about control of belief, identity, meaning, morality, and fear. We're told what to value, what to eat, what to hate, who to worship, what to buy, how to live, how to think, what to consume. And here's the part people really don't want to touch. The system treats Black and Latino people, especially nine-ether beings indigenous to this land and spiritually connected to the planet, like cattle. Because when you're naturally connected to the frequency of the earth, to the higher realms, to intuition, to spirit, you can't be easily controlled. So they break that connection early. Through what? Through religion, using as indoctrination through media, through drugs, through poverty, through trauma, through miseducation, through entertainment that glorifies our own destruction. Because if we remember who we were, the whole system collapses. And I'm not telling you this to scare you, my nigga. I'm telling you this to free you. The truth will set you free. Because once you see the programming, you can't be programmed. And you won't be led like sheep or like cattle. Once you see the illusion, it loses its power. Once you see the matrix on your mind, you can't go back to sleep. And spiritually, this whole thing ties into metaphysics, Kemet, alchemy, quantum physics, neuroscience. You are energy, consciousness, awareness. Melanin is not just a pigment. It's an absorber and a converter of energy. Your mind is programmable. Your genetics is programmable. Your nervous system is programmable. Not by them, but by you. Once you take the control back, your soul's an ancient technology. Your DNA holds memory. Your ancestors encoded information in you. And that's exactly why the system tries so hard to keep you disconnected, distracted, and divided. Because the truth is, you brainwash yourself or the world will brainwash you. The biggest MK they ever pulled off was making people believe they were powerless. Through all these systems, school, religion, science, and everything they teach us basic. But the moment you take your mind back and study the esoterics, you take your frequency back. The moment you stop eating the poison mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it's the moment you stop living on autopilot, my nigga. You stop being the cattle. You stop being a pawn. You stop being an unknowing agent, carrying out someone else's agenda or programming or mind control. You're no longer living in fear or your lower three chakras. You become conscious. You become aware. You become dangerous in a good way. You become a free being in a system built to keep you sleeping. So if you're listening to this right now, if something in you feels like it's waking up, good. That means the programming is cracking. And remember, every system of oppression depends on one thing: you forgetting who you are. And once you remember, it's game over. With that being said, remember who you are, gods and goddesses. Peace and ashe to the ancestors. I'll see you in your new frequency. One love and ashe.